Yeah, you have to start and then you have to be consistent in your it takes a lot of consistency over a long period of time to be truly great at something. Right. And you also have to be a little bit lucky and there's all sorts of stuff that goes into excellence. Getting started is definitely one of them. But then just like consistently applying yourself to something is what really and building wealth is exactly that. One of the two biggest things, well, the one biggest factor for most people not achieving their financial dreams is that they never got started. And then
Right.
so it's just like you have to get started. There's a litany of decisions that you have to like somehow maneuver through. And you got to get over the fact that like you're not making decisions with 100% confidence, like, oh, should I be investing in the S&P 500 using a Roth IRA, or should I be investing in like some Bitcoin through Robinhood, right? I've certainly have my own opinions about what one should do, but the most important thing is like just do one of them. Okay, just get started, start doing one of them, and then do it consistently is the second step. Right? You want to just do things consistently over a long period of time, and that's how you become a great basketball shooter. It's how you build a bunch of wealth. It's just doing things consistently over a long period of time.
All right, we are back with Money School, and for all of you who missed us, we are so sorry. We just had shit happen, and but we're back. And wait. And this is a special. From now on, Money School is going to be co-branded Growing Money with Sean Trace and Professor Heath's Money Misfits. Tell me a little bit about your Money Misfits, man. How's that all been going?
Yeah, it's like surprisingly, it's been going pretty good. Um, I was telling a friend about the show like a couple of days ago, and so he went on YouTube to go look for some videos, and he texted me back. He's like, "Fuck, dude." He's like, "You have you have like 700 views on one of your episodes and like 400
There you
views."
go, man.
And I was like, "Yeah, you'd be surprised what you can get kids to do when you offer extra credit."
There you go, man. Exactly.
Yeah,
Captive
I
audience.
was like, man, we got to get these kids like watching my videos because it's for them. Um, so yeah, it's been going good. Like I think before you hit record on this, I was telling you that um, man, I'm learning so much, and it's such a fucking headache. Um, and I was really hoping that by episode, I was like thinking I was going to be a star on episode one, but deep into episode one, I realized how hard it is being a host. And then I was thinking, well, hopefully by episode 10, I'll have worked out all the kinks. And it seems like I am nowhere near ready to be like a prime time podcast host. So it's been a fucking learning experience.
Actually, I disagree. I think you are totally ready. And I think that the fact that you feel unready is the matter that you are ready to ascend from the student to the master. But dude, I've done this for a while. I've got like 200 some odd episodes under my belt, and I texted you about the mess up that I had the other day. I had a guest coming on. I'm getting ready to start a new podcast about content because I'm wanting to branch out, and I'm meeting all these awesome people about content, but I don't have any place to interview them. And I was like, well, it doesn't work on my Sean Trey show. It doesn't work on my Growing Money podcast. Definitely doesn't work on the health podcast I do for a university. So I was like, well, let's start this new one. And I had this really cool kid come on who's like the guy for Legos. He's got the most Lego views on YouTube, and he's got such a cool channel. And I was like, dude, can you imagine how awesome that would be to like just be able to build Legos full time? Like that would be rad, and he gets all of the cool shit.
Yeah.
Like it's not the simple stuff, Death Star. Yeah, he's got 5 of them type of a thing. So we're sitting down and I'm getting ready, and I hit the button and everything starts. I thought I hit the button. I hit my mouse, but I didn't hit the record button. And I will say it here, and if this kid hears about it, I'm sorry, but this is the truth. Truth is coming out now. I was sitting there, we're 10 minutes in maybe even 15, when I noticed that I hadn't been recording. And I'm just sitting there going, oh my God. And I just sitting there and I was like, what can I do to redeem this? And I was like, pretty much, I'm probably not going to be able to redeem it with this kid, but I can try. And I was like, and I literally just hit the end button and turned off the whole thing. And then I texted him and I was like, power went out in my house, man. I'm so sorry. I know it's
thing happened, man.
the craziest thing happened. And he's like, was the footage corrupted? And I said, I think it was. I think it was.
That's awesome.
250 plus episodes deep, and I don't hit record. So,
well, that's
man.
That's
I think you're doing pretty good
in some sense, because I was really hoping that episode 11, I would have had everything figured out. I don't think I have 200 episodes in me. That's hard.
Let's just say, if you can record by episode 12 and hit the play button, probably a pretty good starting point.
Nice. Yeah. So somebody was telling me, they were like, well, well, let's just start recording it, and then you can you can fix things in the editing process. Like, dude, there's no fixing any. I don't know how to do that yet. So,
so from a video perspective, I have clients that are do not understand the whole video is not Photoshop. So maybe someday we're going to get there and the apps will do complete. Well, I had one person that was like, I've got a stain on my left leg. Can you remove it? I was like, no, can't.
Yeah.
Can you remove that power cord behind me? Nope. That as well, we can't do. So it's a lot of stuff we can, but not that.
Yeah,
the whole fix it in post.
Actually, I've got malfunctions going on in my office right now.
That's it. Oh, things falling down in the background. Lots of stuff falling down.
The whole thing.
Oh, that's staying in. That is all staying in, man. We're keeping that in the podcast. Well, I had a weird week, and I wanted to, we've been talking to do we want to go back on? We will get back to our curriculum that follows your text, but I wanted to just put some stuff out there that I had. First of all, I've had some success. I started working with a financial planner who has got me finally starting in the right direction. Last month, I put $8,000 into paying down debt. And I'm really excited about that. I've got about 5, and not all of that was mine. Part of it was some stuff that my wife was carrying, but we're trying to work together to pay down our debt. I've got $9,000 left, and all of my credit card debt is gone. And that should be about 2 more months, and I will be credit card debt free. And then I'm not going to stop using credit cards, but I'm going to get the ones that give me points, that we've talked about this, that are smart buys, and then I pay them off. But I won't be carrying that interest. And so my advisor gave me a plan to pay that off, and we had to tighten the belt a little bit. But man, it feels great. It feels great.
So did I just hear you say that you have, how much student loan debt do you have left? Was it 8,000? Or was that a credit card?
That's credit card debt. That's credit card debt.
Okay.
Student loan debt is exceptionally painful. I'm one of those people that they talk about that's like those people.
Got it. That's the impression that I got from previous conversations. But then when I thought I just heard you say it was only 8,000, I was going to be like, man, you're way high and my way high are totally different. But it sounds like there's
200K.
Shit.
$200,000 is what I have in student loans.
So what is it? What's it like working with the financial planner? Is he
awesome? Actually,
is he sharing stuff with you that you hadn't thought about, or is he confirming the things that you are learning through your podcast? How is it?
Hand-holding. It's a hand-holding. Yeah, what it is he's educating me. I tell him my plans. I tell him what to do, and he's informing me. He's like, Sean, you're not thinking about this. Because I'm I'm learning these things hodgepodge, and I hear well, do I need this? And he's like, well, you're not there yet. He's like, you know what? And I said, how about I set up this investment vehicle? And so our notes for coming up. Let me see. I made notes very or much a disarray here, but for our next step, he's like, I like what you're doing with the credit cards, pay those down. And then he's like, you know what? I really want you to get some more savings built up. He's like, I need you to get an emergency fund for your business and emergency fund for your personal self and have two of these things going on. And then he's like, and then we really, really, really need to get you set up with a solo 401k and a Roth. Yeah, Roth. All right. He's like, those are your next two steps. Because we were evaluating, my student loan interest is not great. It's not, but it's 6.7%. And so, and I have a long time to pay that off. And he's like, you know what? You could try to pay it all off. But the reality is, if you start investing as well, that will grow faster than the student loan debt. And you don't have to rush out of the student loan debt. You have time on that. So that was kind of his perspective. And he's like, it might look horrible, feel painful, but the reality is having no money in retirement is going to be much more painful than this stigma of carrying student loan
Yeah,
debt.
I agree. That's interesting. We had talked about that very concept in one of our money school episodes where we were saying,
and I was terrified.
Yeah, we were saying like, there's you always think about debt in terms of the interest rate, right? So
yeah,
debt necessarily by itself isn't such a bad thing. It only becomes it can be a bad thing, but it becomes a real problematic thing when the interest rate is so high. And so we're always trying to like consider what, with the money that we do have, what do we want to do with it? What is the smartest way to use our money? And a lot of us will think that we should be paying down our debt, but it's interesting to hear you talking to your financial advisor where the financial advisor is saying, look, pay down your credit card debt. And the reason you want to do that is because the interest rates are so high that you can't possibly earn that in the market. But then once you get rid of your credit card debt, then it becomes, if you have a 6.5% interest rate in your student loan debt, but you can go out in the market and earn 8%, then like you're better off by carrying the debt rather than paying it down because you're making money through your investments. All said, it's interesting that your comment was like hand holding, right? Because I've been wondering why am I even continuing to talk about this stuff? Because it's so simple, right? Like the
right.
stuff that you need to be doing, especially for a young adult, is it's really just a few things that you need to be conscious of. But what I'm sort of realizing is that it's not just about understanding what you're supposed to do, but it's having like somebody there alongside you, helping you commit to doing the right things, right? And that sounds like what you're getting out of your personal financial planner is like,
Well, and it is. And this is right. And this is the thing too. Like, I was thinking about it this way. And this is like something I'm trying to do in the podcasting that I'm helping people do. This is something that I thought about the other day too. But like, in an age where AI and things do everything for you, like, why do we still need people? Well, because the people can kind of pace us and push us and handhold us. It's like at this time, like, if you ask ChatGPT how to run a marathon, it can definitely tell you how to run a marathon. So get out and do this and this. But the reality is, and it's not difficult. Like, the reality is, get a nice pair of shoes and get your ass outside and run. Like, that's it. Pretty much that's it. If you do that enough days, you'll be able to run a marathon. It's not much more difficult than that. But it's hard for many people to do because the steps to getting there are overwhelming, and you run into your own fears. Maybe I've been getting back to Muay Thai. I'm 46 years old, and I'm back in the gym training hard. But one of the things that I'm doing is that I'm only taking myself to the point where I start hitting a wall, and so I sit there and I go, all right, that's good. I'm good. But I also know that if I keep doing that every day, eventually those walls will get let down. And when I hit a wall that I can't cross, that's when I need a coach. When I get to the point where I'm just like, you know what, I don't know how to get beyond this hurdle. How do I get there? then I got my teacher, Laup. We book a session. Laup comes in and he goes, hey, you're doing this. You should be doing this. And I was like, oh, I never knew that. And it just because, and if I sit there and say, dude, I don't want to do this, but if I said in 1 year, I want to go and I want to fight in Thailand, well, you know what? I'm sure I could do it. And there are ways to do it. But if I tried to do it on my own, I would die, you know? And it's sometimes you just need the person who has the knowledge, even though, I mean, if I looked up online how to become a Muay Thai fighter in Thailand, I'm sure ChatGPT could tell me how to become a Muay Thai fighter in Thailand. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to be successful in doing it. And so I think that there's the idea. And the other thing is the person who's been there. And the person who's been there in that situation. And so, which is why I also like, and I know I like talking about money, but someone's like, well, you should coach people with money. And I'm like, dude, I don't have my shit together. Like, what am I going to coach them on? Like, I might be able to coach them with you can do it. I believe in you. But I think that a coach to me, a really good coach is someone who's been through it and can speak to it. I can speak to someone about how to grow a podcast. I can speak to someone about how to make content because that's stuff I've done. That's stuff I've been through. But I think, and I think that's where the coach comes in, is they're a person who's been there and they have that knowledge set.
That's huge. Yeah, that's huge. It's like the emotional, It's like the emotional sidekick that inspires you to keep going. That's what I was thinking when I was listening to you talk about the marathon. It's it's like ChatGPT could tell you how to do it, but man, who's gonna motivate you to wake up every single morning and get out there and start running? And so there's beauty in having a coach that is inspiring you in as much as giving you the right advice. So you're getting everything from a coach.
100%. And the thing that I think with AI too, and I'm not hating on AI, but like AI's never run a marathon. It's it doesn't it's never pooped itself, because that's something that people do. I guess they poop themselves in marathons sometimes, man. I didn't know that.
Really?
It's a thing.
Oh, man,
it's a thing, dude.
That's another reason why I'm not running a marathon. I'm gonna add it to the fucking long ass list.
There's a video on TikTok or Instagram, wherever you look at it, and it's this lady, and she's running a marathon, and it's on TV, and they're filming her, and she's like, "Don't film me from behind. I just pooped myself." Dude, it's a real video.
Really?
And like, I guess it's this thing because there's not a lot of bathrooms on the way, and like the competitive people don't want to stop. It's time, man.
Something tells me when your body is like relieving itself because it's like probably time to stop running.
Right.
Yeah, that's brutal.
The other day I was like training Muay Thai, and I was like, and I got to the point I was like, I feel like I need to vomit. And that was the point in time where I was like, it is now time for Sean to sit down.
That's awesome.
And chill.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. But I wanted to talk to you about something that is a little bit weird, but it was a family thing. And I wanted to hear your feedback on this. We have an interesting dynamic in my family where there's some family conflict and drama right now. And the people that I'm going to talk about today and throw under the bus don't listen to my podcast.
Nice.
Person's not necessarily one of my favorite people, so it's not a problem. And he will never listen to this. So it's all good. Two family members that are extremely close are married. And the partners are having a challenge. So the wife recently wanted to up-level her career, and they have careers. He has a career. She learned how to do microblading, like the micro-tattooing of the eyebrows.
Yeah.
But then everyone learned to do that, and so she was like out of something. And so she was looking at other stuff that she could do, and she's very talented, and so she looked at about studying how to do makeup and how to do hair. And so it was not cheap. So the course was about 40 million Vietnam dong. And 40 million Vietnam dong is about $1,800, which here is not cheap. That's, that'd be like a $10,000, $15,000 class in the US. So the girl went to some family members, and she came to me and my wife as well. And we spotted and assisted with this. I've not been always in the position where I can help, but at this point in time, this person has helped me a lot, and I wanted to help out back. And my wife did, but she borrowed the bulk of it from another person, another family member, an uncle,
Yeah.
who's always really good and always very kind and generous. Okay. The husband knew this, partner knew this, and knew the whole situation, didn't volunteer to help. I don't know if they didn't have it or what. I don't ask about their finances. She was like, then the next day, she's been doing her classes about a week and a half. And then the husband came home with a new iPhone 17. Yeah, dude. Came home with the iPhone 17, and the wife looked at him and was like, dude, where did you buy that? Why did you buy that? And like it went into this big long thing, and he's like, I was doing some extra freelancing and I had the money. And she's like, I just borrowed money so I could go to school. And we were sitting there and like we were talking about this, and for me, I was like, dude, I don't understand that. That makes literally no sense. And my wife and I were like, my wife's phone died today, and we were talking about it, and I was like, we're paying down debt, like, and I went and got her a $400 Samsung, and there was a reason. I was like, I'm not paying $3,000 for the new iPhone, 17 Pro Max when it's not needed. And I wanted her to get onto Samsung because it integrates with her whole, the whole Google system that her new company's running on. And so she can access Google Docs easily and all that. It's just much easier to be on Android, in my opinion. And even though I like the iPhone and it films better, for what she's doing for her work phone, it's actually easier. And so it was a very clear, need. And we sat there, we put our priorities in order. And like, but when I kept coming back to that, I was like, it's so interesting that people can be so oblivious to money. And I mean, that person is a narcissist who came home with that phone. Like, that's straight up some craziness. But like, I'd love to hear your perspective.
So he had the money, but he didn't.
Seemingly.
He didn't. What? It seems so weird to me that he would
Right?
hide. So did he hide money from his partner?
I don't know if he borrowed it. I don't know if he tried to finance it. There's not a lot of financing here. I don't know if he got money from somewhere else so that he could buy it. But it was just this really interesting, like, and I was sitting there, I was left with like, the why. Why would you do that? Like,
Yeah.
but it comes back to, I was listening to a podcast this week that a friend of mine did, and they were talking about couples and relationships. And you know what they said that the number one thing couples fight about is?
It's got to be money.
Money.
Yeah.
It's money, dude. It's always money.
When my wife and I, sorry for cutting you off, but that's been the one thing that my wife and I have been on the same page our entire marriage. Like, there's just never been one argument that I can think of that revolved around money. It's like we have been so consistent with that. And it's funny because that's not something that we talked about before we got married. It's nothing that I thought, hey, like we're both on the same page. This makes us a good partnership, but we just sort of lucked out in it. But man, I have heard horror stories about how money can destroy lives, and arguments about money destroy lives. And I've like even had guests on my podcast, very small amount of episodes, like that issue's already come up a couple of times where, a spouse loses their job and the family hits financial difficulties, and it literally tore the family apart. And so when I hear things about what the stories that you just articulated, to me, it's like it's shocking that there are couples out there that are that disconnected when it comes to money, right?
Well, and it was interesting because she was like, the girl was like, dude, like, I really would like to get a divorce right now because this is so across the line. It's so, such a, and the thing is, it comes, rewind it. Like, when I started thinking about this, I was sitting there thinking about that person and their choices. And I was like, it starts young. Like, it really starts young, and we have to teach people, like, how to approach money. And I mean, it's like money school. And I think luckily, if you catch people at junior college or high school, I think you can still fix a lot of that. But it's crazy. Like, if we're not talking about this stuff, which comes back to the whole concept of money school, you know, because I really think that this person is oblivious to the fact that that was a bad idea. And that's
Yeah. Remember the episode that we filmed that dealt with the money scripts? And you've had guests on your show that were like experts in it. And so it sounds like he's like his the two individuals in that relationship is they have different money scripts, right? And so
Yep.
different money scripts conflicting with each other in the same partnership, man, that's brutal. And so like he went out and bought an iPhone and it was like totally consistent, could have been totally consistent with his view on money. It's just like, yeah, this like this doesn't make that like that there's nothing about this that seems odd to me. And then the partner is like, dude, what the fuck are you thinking? Like
Right?
that's like completely out of bounds. And it could be the different money scripts that both of them are walking through life with. I know
Yeah.
personally, like if I had to borrow money from a friend, I would be horrified if my wife came home with like a bunch of new shit. And it's just like,
Oh,
what do
dude.
you like? How does that make me look? It's crazy. Like I would be shocked. But
It would make me
but to the person's defense, it could be the case that he did finance the phone. That's what first came to mind was, well, look, I signed up for a new plan and they gave me a new phone. So I'm not really.
but that's not how it works here. They don't do that in Vietnam. So, like, it is but I still think, there had to be, because what I keep coming back to, and I think this is something that I've never heard anyone talk about, but I've felt it. Money decisions. Like, that moment that we all do this, dude. You're at the car dealership. I know you've talked about car dealerships. You're sitting there, you're looking, you're like, new Dodge
Yeah.
Durango. All right, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. Because my sister just got the new Dodge Durango, and she was telling me how much she's making in car payments per month. And I was just like, oh my God. And she's like, well, it was a smart move. And the dealership really helped me. And I'm like, I'm sure they did. They
They,
really, they really
they
did. And
told me
she,
it was a
your
really smart
payments.
move.
Yeah. But I mean, she's like, I got out of the old car. Her old car was on its last leg. It was not a good thing. She was driving long distances. I was like, I get that. But like, maybe would have been better to go find an old secondhand Toyota or something, not the brand new Dodge. But I know my sister, she's got that. She went through hell and back. She's been clean for 3 years after being on fentanyl. And dude, she's wanting to show that she's doing better. And, I'm not hating on that. But like at the same time, those decisions, those money decisions that sit there, because we all have the scripts and all the stuff, but there's that moment where you're sitting there going, yeah, I need the new pinball machine that takes up half my living room.
Yeah,
That's a good
dude,
idea.
I have a student in one of my personal finance classes that was telling the class that she admittedly is like broke, super poor, like can barely survive, but she has this emotional need to spend money. So they have like two brand new cars, like a Beamer and some other car. So they're making these huge car payments and then they're falling behind on their car payments. However, they went out and purchased a bunch of new furniture and a kitchenette set and like financed that. So they're making payments on that. And it's like, man, like the just in the context of this conversation, it's like being good at money or managing your money, some of it for some of us does involve like understanding what the right things to do are, but just as much as understanding what the right things are. to do are, it's like having the discipline to do the right things, right? Like, and having the coach is exactly what you were just talking about. It's not so much the coach isn't necessarily giving you like this golden information that's impossible to uncover on your own. They're giving decent advice, but they're also just like standing by your side and making sure that you are committing to acting on the right plan. And so like this month, like the more that I've been thinking about, you know, what it is I want to give to students when it comes to money, like I'm beginning to appreciate more and more that it's less about like doing like explaining and uncovering the right things. And it's more and more about how do you inspire somebody to start investing or saving for retirement when they're 18 or 19? How do you get somebody to sit down and look at a budget so that they are conscious about the way that they spend money? It's less about how to do things and it's more about, well, I guess it's less about knowing what to do and more about how do you consistently do this, you know? And so for somebody young, it's a complicated issue, and for somebody who is deep in life, it's even more complicated because you have like all of these bad habits and your financial situation is like way more complicated than it is for somebody who's 18. So like if you don't figure it out early, right? It's just going to be impossible, not impossible, but it's going to be so difficult to correct the ship like when you're 35, 40, 45.
Do you know what I think? I think that there was this story. I think that we're dealing with an existential cultural crisis as well. And I'm not talking about crazy stuff happening in a different US or wherever. I'm talking with a much older thing. There used to be cultures. I remember there's this tribe in South America. Steve-O and them went like did the video. They show like they have this rite of passage where they put on a glove of bullet ants. The bullet ants
Oh
are
shit,
weaved into
yeah.
this. I think it's in Brazil. And they put the whole glove on. And it's described as one of the single most painful things that anyone can physically endure. And like Steve-O's hand was swollen for like a week afterwards. And one of the craziest videos I've ever seen. And like one of the things that they talked about, and traditionally, like in different tribes, they would have, yeah, like I think in the Maasai, they would have to go out, and the kids when they were young would have to kill a lion. I don't think they do that anymore because of the fact that there would be a massive problem of dwindling lion population. But it used to be that there was like a big thing, and what I'm getting at, I was walking with Ailani the other day, and I was trying to teach her about like. Um, yeah, she's been in Muay Thai and she's just like hitting like this, you know? And I've been trying to wake her up like that there is another side of the world, that there are people out there that are not nice, you know? And there is stuff that's not always safe. And so I was trying to motivate her. And then finally, she has this new little cute little poodle puppy. And I looked at her and I said, all right, imagine someone is trying to hurt your puppy. And this look shifted in her eyes. And she's like, someone's going to hurt my puppy? My little daughter went straight up John Wick on those boxing
Yeah.
pads. She was just like, oh, that, you know? And I was just like, what I'm getting at is that I think we are in such a place of safety. Like we have this idea in our whole society, even if someone's in survival, they still are like, well, you know what? It's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
You know, like I can still go out and spend. I can still do this. You know, it's like that cartoon, the meme or whatever. Like the guy sitting in the room, it's all right, and the room's on fire. You know, I think that that's kind of the thing. Like I don't think that we're getting people. There's not this like transition into adulthood, and because we're not telling people what that means. I remember as a kid, like we had this project class where they're like, now you're going to learn to balance a checkbook. And the one thing I realized is that I never learned how to balance a checkbook. And their examples that they had were not very reasonable. They're like, today you're going to buy milk and we're going to go and buy eggs. The eggs thing might be more reasonable. But then they didn't talk about the PS5. They didn't talk about the streaming subscription. I know it didn't exist at that time, or the 25 different streaming, Paramount Plus, Disney Plus, Netflix, each of them, it's not that much. It's $15, it's $19 a month. Well, when you have 10 of them, that's 200. So it's like, I think that we aren't talking to people about how to transition from childhood into adulthood. And also we have a lot of really, and this is not age wise. This is like just worldwide. So we have a lot of entitled people right now in our whole planet, I deserve that. Why? You don't.
Yeah.
Nothing's guaranteed right now, man. You got to work for it,
Yeah. There's an opportunity cost to everything. It's like
Right?
maybe you do deserve it, but does that mean that you should buy it? It's just like the one thing that I hear all the time is like, well, that's not fair. And it's like, yeah, you know what?
Right.
Nobody fucking it doesn't matter if it's fair or not anymore. Like you gotta move you gotta move past that. Like things are gonna happen to you for the rest of your life that aren't fair. And it's like, you know what? Nobody cares. And you need to get past things not being fair. It's gonna happen regardless of whether it's fair or not. And so
I love the what was it? The Paul brothers. A lot of people hate these guys, Jake and Logan, and they are definitely tools. Like I guarantee you, like they
speaking
have
of
learned to play like
Mike Tyson,
yeah, right. The kid who fought Mike Tyson, and he's out there. He's getting ready to fight Tank Gervonta Davis, I think, this other fighter, and but at the same time, he went from a YouTuber to some of the guys that quite a few of the guys he's fought are not pushovers. Like they're like legit people. And he beat them. And the thing he's transitioned, if I sat there, like we were talking about, if I sat there and said, hey, dude, in a year, I want to go and fight Muay Thai. Dude, that's not easy. You have to have an insane level of dedication. What I'm getting at is those guys didn't think anything was owed to them, but they went out and hustled and they worked for it. And then they had a team of people around them that guided them to a great place, So I think that what we're circling around is, having people on your team and also figuring out what the hell you're supposed to do.
yeah, yeah. Like I said, I probably said it 100 times already in this episode, but I'm becoming more convinced that it's about how do you teach good habits at the very beginning, and how do you inspire
Yeah.
people to just make better choices, right? Because it's hard to say no to, hey, you want to go out to dinner tonight? For me, it would be really hard for me to say no to that. Like I love food. I love going out to dinner.
Hmm.
And so staying home and eating, a frozen meal or even a good home cooked meal at times, it's hard for me to do that when people are like, hey, you want to go, let's go to dinner. Let's go out and have something to eat. It's hard for me to say no. And it's not about money. It's about, eating healthy for me. But it's the same concept where, man, you are just pushed in these situations where it's hard to say no. And so
Yeah.
it's easy to just kind of go along and think that it's okay. And you'll get on track tomorrow or whatever. Consistent with that, moving it back to money, in one of my personal or in all of my personal finance classes, I have students do this budgeting project. And so the first phase of it is I have students just take the previous month's spending and just figure out what they spent money on. And then the second half of the exercise is creating a budget for the following month and trying to stick to that budget. And the entire project, the most significant feedback or like the most common comments I get are people saying, I can't believe how much I spend on food. And I can't
Yeah.
believe how much I spend on going out and, treating myself to a coffee or getting a little snack at the snack shack. Like these little like behaviors that you're not really paying attention to, like completely derail these kids. Right. And so like just being conscious of the easy decisions, right? So, like, yeah, it's going to be hard for me to say no going out to dinner, but it's a lot easier to just say no to the Starbucks coffee in the morning, right? And so, if I could just fix, some of the easy stuff, I'm going to have way more flexibility in what I can eat for dinner. But I didn't eat that, or I didn't have that sugary coffee in the morning. So maybe I can afford to have some French fries for dinner. The spending thing is exactly the same thing for a lot of my students. It's just like, you tell them, hey, are you saving for retirement or are you investing any of your, it's like, oh man, I'm broke. And it's like, okay, well, I agree that you are broke, but is it the case that when you look at your spending, is there some of the stuff that you spend money on? Can you go without that and instead
Yeah.
invest? And so it's like, maybe you're not broke. Maybe you need to just like take a step back and look at what you're spending. And man, dude, it is like 100% the same comment I get from every student. They're shocked at how much the money they're spending on stuff that doesn't really matter. And so it's
Yes.
just
Yes.
I don't know if it's consistent with what you were articulating, but it's having the
That's
willpower.
exactly it.
It's having the willpower to like force something or force your inertia in the right direction.
The the family member who went and bought that iPhone 17 yesterday, in their mind, there must have been a point in time where they said, maybe this isn't a good idea, but there was a stronger force in their mind saying, this is a
Just
great
seeing how
idea.
good it's
You
gonna
know,
feel when you walk out of the store with this brand new phone.
yeah.
Yeah,
And I think that that's where if we can start to figure out, and I want to try to figure out what is it that for me, the thing I'm working on is trying to get 72 hours. And also the idea and the goal of paying down debt is really cool. And it's kind of gamified because we set up some apps that I can see it and I can start to track it. I was like, oh, that number is going down and that number is going up, And so I was just like, that's pretty cool. But I think that, for most people, and it is such a dopamine thing. And I think spending is so tied to a dopamine type of oh, feels good because you're like, yeah, you go out, you have that new phone and it lasts for how long? Maybe a day, maybe two that you've got that new phone and it feels good. And then after that, you're like, what's
yeah,
next? You know?
yeah. It's like a lot of what I've been trying to preach has to do with delayed gratification, right? So
Yes.
you can go spend 5 here, 10 there, 15 here, and it is going to be, you are going to get some benefit out of that, that obviously you will, but think of it in terms of saying no to those things, not to deprive yourself of anything, but like the more significant thing, which is like maybe you go on a trip to LA, you drive down to LA and you spend the weekend in
Yeah.
LA. Like think about how good that's going to feel as opposed to just like drinking coffee every morning for a couple of months, right? So
Right.
it's for some kids, right? You tell them, look, why are you spending your money on coffee? And sometimes for those kids that's enough inspiration for them to stop that bad habit. But then for other kids it's like, well, just simply saying you're wasting your money on something that isn't, it's not worth it. Like they need to hear something different. The message that they need is something different, which is, listen, you need to be thinking about like higher rewards and more profound
Yeah.
uses of your money, and you need to be inspired to like say no even though it's hard to the coffee in the morning. You're saying no because you're striving for something else that's going to hopefully provide way more value. And so like
Love that.
everybody need, or not everybody, but there are all sorts of different reasons why people can't make the right decision. And by right decision, meaning their spending isn't consistent with what their priorities are. It's hard when you're faced with so many things day after day that are encouraging us to make decisions that are totally inconsistent with our
Right.
priorities. The whole system is like designed against us. And so you really need to
Yeah.
be conscious, and not only conscious, but you have to have some, motivation to like say no to the things that you've historically been saying yes to that aren't consistent with your priorities. So,
And I think it comes into a values thing. And I'm not talking religious values, but like what's important to you. And like I think that we all have to kind of go deep at times, or at least, and maybe that's what the coach is all about. Maybe that's why coaches are important because when you're playing basketball, when you're doing something as a kid, like, it's hard to see why you want to do that. I was talking to someone recently and we were talking about like the beginning of excellence. And like, I've said this in a couple of my different recent podcasts, like, imagine the first we always assume that excellence has always been there for some people, like Michael Jordan, Kobe Bryant. You just assume, yeah, Steph Curry, man, you just assume that they always were great. But there was a day where Steph Curry walked on the court for the first time. There was days early on where Steph Curry missed shots, probably a lot of them. And then suddenly he kept shooting and then suddenly he started making them, and now he never misses. And it's like, but the thing is like, we don't realize that you have to start to get
yeah.
there.
Yeah, you have to start and then you have to be consistent in your like it takes a lot of consistency over a long period of time to be truly great at something. Right. And you also have to be a little bit lucky, and there's all sorts of stuff that goes into excellence. Getting started is definitely one of them. But then just like consistently applying yourself to something is what really, and building wealth is exactly that. One of the two biggest things, well, the one biggest factor for most people not achieving their financial dreams is that they never got started. And then
Right.
so it's just like you have to get started. There's a litany of decisions that you have to like somehow maneuver through. And you got to get over the fact that like you're not making decisions with 100% confidence, like, oh, should I be investing in the S&P 500 using a Roth IRA, or should I be investing in like some Bitcoin through Robinhood, right? Like, so I certainly have my own opinions about what one should do, but the most important thing is like just do one of them. Okay, just get started, start doing one of them, and then do it consistently is the second step. Right? You want to just do things consistently over a long period of time, and that's how you become a great basketball shooter. It's how you build a bunch of wealth. It's just doing things consistently over a long period